try to be objective with all of my sports coverage, and listen, Jacy Sheldon objectively should be suspended for this play. I just don't know in what world, in what universe you watch that play back and you go, that was a basketball play. She was trying to make a basketball move, especially with all the angles of this play.
The voices are getting louder, the frustration is reaching a boiling point, and fans across the basketball world are demanding justice. The WNBA community has erupted in outrage following Jacy Sheldon's vicious attack on Caitlin Clark, and they're making it crystal clear they want Sheldon to face serious financial consequences for her reckless actions that could have ended the career of women's basketball's biggest superstar.
Sheldon was clearly targeting Caitlin Clark most of this game, and that is, that comes from a function of, she guarded her in one-on-one situations a lot up the court, and then rolled into a lot of doubles in the half court, but there was talking and chirping all game, and for me, it was punctuated by Caitlin Clark's final play before she came out of the game, where she stares Jacy Sheldon down, essentially demonstrates, she's like, if you poke me in my eye, I will shoot it in yours. And she crosses her, finds the favorite spot, free throw line extended from the logo area, big fuck you 3 to Jacy Sheldon, yells at the Connecticut bench, yells at the crowd. Her and Jacy Sheldon come back together. Caitlin fires up the audience, basically tells Jacy Sheldon, you are a bum.
The sentiment is spreading like wildfire across social media platforms and sports forums everywhere, with fans pleading for the WNBA to impose a massive fine on Sheldon that will finally send a message. If the league won't protect their golden goose through proper officiating, then they must at least make the financial punishment so severe that future attackers will think twice before targeting Clark.
Every time Caitlin Clark takes the court, her opponents act like they've been booked for a main event brawl. The WNBA is doing nothing about it. Opponents aren't playing ball. They're strategically ambushing her. They're trying to injure her. Opponents bring chaos. She brings composure. And what Sophie did last night is completely valid. The WNBA has to do something about this.
During what should have been a routine Tuesday night game between the Indiana Fever and Connecticut Sun, we witnessed yet another chapter in the ongoing saga of Caitlin Clark being treated like a human punching bag while the WNBA turns a blind eye. This time, however, the attack was so blatant and dangerous that even casual observers couldn't ignore the intent behind Sheldon's actions.
Clark and Jacy Sheldon. There is a legitimate hatred there. If you guys have heard, this Ohio State team, this 2023 Ohio State team, hated that Iowa team. And this is Jacy Sheldon, who was Caitlin Clark's direct matchup in these games. Like I tweeted out, forget Angel, forget Dejanay. This is Caitlin Clark's one true rival.
Jacy Sheldon deliberately poked Clark in the eye during a defensive play, an action that could have caused serious and lasting damage to the league's most valuable player. What made this incident even more egregious was the malicious grin on Sheldon's face afterward. Fans were quick to point out that this wasn't an accidental basketball play. This was a calculated assault on the woman who has single-handedly saved the WNBA from irrelevance.
Funny thing about that whole Caitlin and Jacy situation last night is it's like on a if you know thing. These two have been running the friendly fade on the court for like the last 4 years. They played in college, had great battles, so I'm not surprised last night happened.
If you are enjoying, please subscribe. The sequence of events that followed was equally disturbing. After poking Clark in the eye, Sheldon continued her aggressive behavior by grabbing Clark's arm and digging her nails into her skin. An additional foul that went completely uncalled by the referees. Then, as if the eye poke wasn't enough, Marina Mabrey joined the attack by shoving Clark to the ground from behind while she was still recoiling from the initial injury.
Oh, you know what? I'm just going to be me. I don't go in there trying to predetermine anything. I'm dialed in. I need to focus on hitting my shots, making sure I'm executing the schemes right. I'm not focused on the extracurricular activities. And you know what? During that, it was just part of the game. I think the refs had a lot to do with that. It was a build-up for a couple of years now of them just not protecting, the star player of the WNBA. And so at the end of the day, I'm going to protect my teammates. That's what I do. And I'm a team player, so it's all good.
The immediate aftermath of Sheldon's attack revealed the depth of fan frustration that has been building for years. Within hours of the incident, social media exploded with demands for severe punishment, with fans calling for everything from massive fines to season-long suspensions. The hashtag #BanJacySheldon began trending across multiple platforms, as supporters of Caitlin Clark flooded Sheldon's Instagram account with harsh criticism. Comments ranged from calling her unprofessional and bitter to questioning whether she belongs in any professional league.
Look at it from behind or from the side. It's so obvious that she straight up leapt out towards Caitlin and got her right in the eye. And the more I try and watch it back and you try to be objective, there is no world where this was a basketball play. And yes, she was playing tough defense on Caitlin up until that point, but she leapt forward, and it's not like it's defensible where you can say she tried to get the ball, because her hand at that point was so far away from where the ball was. It's not like Caitlin was dribbling the ball up near her face. How she was not ejected for this, I don't know. The broadcast was talking about it, and that's why Sophie Cunningham even had the opportunity to hard foul her at the end. I don't know what you do, but the league's got to do something.
Even prominent media personalities joined the chorus of outrage. Jimmy Fallon used his platform on The Tonight Show to directly address the WNBA leadership, saying, "What is going on in the WNBA? Protect Caitlin Clark at all costs. Please, enough of this. Please." When mainstream entertainment figures are publicly calling out the league's failures, you know the problem has transcended basketball. Dave Portnoy from Barstool Sports didn't mince words in his criticism, calling the attackers jealous loser punks and suggesting they should go play in a recreational league where no one cares about you. This type of mainstream media attention is exactly what the WNBA doesn't want. Negative publicity that exposes their systematic failure to protect their most valuable asset.
How he'd stop the fighting, he thought they meant the WNBA. What is going on? Protect Caitlin Clark at all costs, please. Enough of this. Please.
To understand why fans are demanding such severe punishment for Sheldon, you have to understand the astronomical value that Caitlin Clark brings to the WNBA. The numbers don't lie, and they paint a picture of a league that owes its current success entirely to one player. According to Dr. Ryan Brewer, an associate professor of finance at Indiana University, Columbus, Caitlin Clark was responsible for a staggering 26.5% of all WNBA economic activity during her rookie season alone. To put this in perspective, that's more than a quarter of the entire league's financial success tied to a single player who was making just $76,535.00 in her first year. Brewer's projections for 2025 are even more mind-blowing. He estimates that Clark could generate nearly $1 billion, 0 cents, in total economic impact for the WNBA this season. That's billion with a B, a number that dwarfs the entire previous history of women's professional basketball. When a single player is responsible for that level of economic activity, allowing her to be targeted and potentially injured becomes not just morally wrong, but financially catastrophic.
Listen, bring Caitlin Clark to the NBA right now, because the refs ain't gonna protect her. She only got one teammate, and that's her, who gonna do something about it. Like, yo, yesterday, that's malice in the palace activity. Call for it. That y'all should have been throwing hands all over the place. How do you get poked in the eye, then get thrown to the ground, and then you receive a technical foul? And don't none of your teammates want to step up, fight, squabble, none of that. They just looking like, yo, it's been, we know that y'all been targeting Caitlin Clark now. Now, I'm even watching, I'm like, hold on, what? Like, how are y'all letting this happen? How are y'all not protecting this girl? Now, she clearly is a superstar, right? But there's plenty superstars in the WNBA, and don't none of them get treated the way Caitlin Clark get treated. Now, y'all gonna mess up and ruin the whole numbers, your ratings, your sponsor, all that, if y'all don't have Caitlin Clark in y'all's league. So y'all better start acting right. I'm telling you.
The WNBA's response to the Sheldon attack has been nothing short of pathetic. Sheldon received a flagrant 1 foul, which carries an automatic fine of just $200, 0 cents. Marina Mabrey's technical foul was upgraded to a flagrant 2, resulting in a fine of $400, 0 cents. To put these penalties in perspective, that's less money than most people spend on a nice dinner. Meanwhile, Sophie Cunningham, who finally stood up to defend Clark, received not only a flagrant 2 foul during the game, but was also hit with an additional undisclosed fine from the league. The message is clear. Attack Caitlin Clark and pay $200 0 cents, but defend her and face multiple punishments. The system is completely backwards. Fans aren't just upset about the inadequate punishment. They're actively organizing to demand change. Multiple petitions have emerged calling for more severe discipline, with hundreds of signatures accumulating in just days. The sentiment is unanimous. The current fine structure is completely insufficient for the severity of the offense. Social media campaigns have sprouted with specific demands. Fans are calling for fines in the tens of thousands of dollars, arguing that anything less than a month's salary isn't a real deterrent. Some are even demanding that a portion of any fine be paid directly to Caitlin Clark as compensation for the targeting she's endured.
This has been a very contentious 12 hours since the game. A lot of people on ESPN saying ridiculous things, like Monica McNutt saying she had no problem with Marina Mabrey's foul. And I look at that in comparison to the Sophie Cunningham foul, which I have seen people say has no place in the league, unsportsmanlike, when that actually is a lot more sportsmanlike than the Marina Mabrey one. Marina Mabrey was completely disconnected from the play, had nothing to do with it. There was no play even going on when Marina Mabrey did that.
The logic is sound from both a financial and safety perspective. If Jacy Sheldon's eye poke had caused serious damage to Clark's vision, the WNBA could have lost hundreds of millions in revenue. From a pure business perspective, the WNBA's approach to protecting Caitlin Clark makes no sense whatsoever. They're sitting on the biggest phenomenon in women's sports history, a player who has transformed their attendance figures, television ratings, and merchandise sales, yet they're allowing her to be systematically targeted by players with grudges and agendas. When teams can't sell tickets without her presence, when television ratings triple when she plays, when entire cities reorganize their venues to accommodate the crowds she draws, the smart business move would be to ensure her safety and success through severe financial penalties for those who target her. Consider this. The Indiana Fever's franchise valuation jumped from $90 million, 0 cents, to $340 million, 0 cents, in just 1 year, almost entirely due to Clark's arrival. That's a $250 million increase in value attributable to a single player. When that level of financial impact is at stake, a $200 0 cents fine for attacking that player isn't just inadequate, it's financially irresponsible.
What you have in Caitlin Clark is a once-in-a-generation talent. She was massively successful in college, and that's transcended into the WNBA, where she's leaps and bounds above pretty much most every player there. You're allowing her to get beaten up on the regular during games, flagrant fouls, people trying to take her eye out. That's happened a couple different times last year and this year. And you're not protecting your...
Beyond just fining Sheldon, fans are increasingly arguing that Caitlin Clark deserves direct compensation for the abuse she's endured. The logic is straightforward. If a player is being systematically targeted in ways that no other player in league history has experienced, and if that targeting is directly related to her massive value to the league, then she deserves financial compensation beyond her standard salary. Clark's current salary is a joke compared to her economic impact. She's making $78,000 0 cents this season, while generating nearly $1 billion 0 cents in economic activity for the league. That's a return on investment that would make any business executive weep with joy, yet the league allows their golden goose to be attacked with impunity. Some fans have proposed a protection bonus system where any player who commits flagrant fouls against Clark must pay a percentage of their salary directly to her. Others suggest that the league itself should provide additional compensation to Clark for enduring treatment that goes far beyond normal basketball competition. Given Clark's unprecedented impact on the WNBA's financial success, creating a protection and compensation system specifically for her would be both fair and financially prudent.
One could argue she is an A-level star, and they don't even have B and C-level stars. From A, it drops to D. She is the entire league, and they allow things like this to happen last night against the Connecticut Sun.
Watch when Caitlin Clark is trying to create some space. It looked like she just got hit in the eye there.
And Marina Mabrey, I missed that one, Edona.
Oh, I missed that one too.
Like, it wasn't just a hard foul accident. Like, there's nothing Caitlin Clark has done in response at this point. So what's the point in bowing up into her face? And immediately, I don't think Caitlin's even extended her arm to push her away. Maybe the coaching is, hey, if you're physical with Caitlin Clark, it's one of the only ways to stop her. Yes. So, like, they're all encouraged to be really physically aggressive. But it's hard not to look at this and think there's animus towards her. You got to protect Caitlin Clark. She is the WNBA.
If the WNBA was serious about protecting their billion-dollar investment, the fine structure would look completely different. Instead of $200 0-cent fines that players can pay out of their petty cash, meaningful penalties would involve significant percentages of annual salaries. A real deterrent would fine players like Sheldon a minimum of $25,000, 0 cents, for deliberately targeting Clark's eyes or other vulnerable areas. For context, that would represent roughly 10% of a typical WNBA salary, making it a genuinely painful consequence that would make players think twice before attempting similar attacks. For repeat offenders, or particularly egregious attacks, fans are calling for fines of $50,000, 0 cents or more, along with automatic multi-game suspensions. The message needs to be clear. If you want to play in the WNBA, you respect and protect the player who has made the league financially viable. Fans demand larger fines, partly paid to Clark, to punish aggressors and compensate her for unprecedented targeting.
Caitlin Clark is non-disrespectable. That's not even a word, but I'm going to just use it for the point of my video. You cannot disrespect the nucleus of women's basketball and act like it's not going to be a problem, man. Oh, Caitlin Clark could do this, but other people can't. You goddamn right. Because she's the center of women's basketball. We've said this a million times. Clark changed the game. She is the nucleus, the center, the black hole. Everything revolves around Clark with women's basketball, man, because of her influence.
Part of the fan outrage stems from the consistent failure of WNBA referees to properly protect Clark during games. Time and again, obvious fouls are ignored, flagrant attacks are downgraded to common fouls, and Clark herself is penalized for defending herself. Fans argue that if referees won't do their jobs during games, then the league must impose post-game punishments so severe that they compensate for the lack of in-game protection. When officials allow Clark to be poked in the eyes, grabbed, scratched, and shoved without appropriate consequences, the league office must step in with financial penalties that actually matter. The current system essentially rewards aggressive behavior toward Clark while punishing those who defend her. This backwards incentive structure has created an environment where attacking the league's biggest star is seen as acceptable, while protecting her results in ejections and fines.
Caitlin Clark is the golden goose. Every game she is dropping golden eggs, and they are trying to strangle the golden goose to death. There's jealousy, there is hate. Everyone in the league seems to hate the fact that Caitlin Clark is making the league relevant. If I were advising Caitlin Clark, I would say start your own pro basketball league for women. I don't know why she benefits from the WNBA at all. She could go out, she is the draw for women's basketball, and set up her own league. She might even be able to own the majority of the league. She could probably become a billionaire. Set it up with far fewer teams. You play far fewer games. Heck, they did it with Live Golf. I think the audience would follow Caitlin Clark wherever she goes.
The WNBA's failure to protect Caitlin Clark endangers her career. Allowing unchecked aggression against her will only escalate targeting, risking serious injury. Fans, unlike the league, recognize Clark's immense value and her fans' loyalty. If the WNBA continues to undermine its biggest star, international leagues, especially in Europe, could offer her better protection, respect, and compensation, potentially luring her away to an environment that values her. The solution to this crisis is straightforward, but it requires the WNBA to acknowledge the reality of their situation. Caitlin Clark is not just another player. She is the economic engine that drives the entire league. Protecting her isn't just morally right, it's a business necessity that should override all other considerations. Jacy Sheldon's attack on Clark should result in a fine of at least $25,000, 0 cents, with a significant portion paid directly to Clark as compensation. This would send a clear message that targeting the league's biggest star comes with severe financial consequences. Additionally, Sheldon should face a multi-game suspension to drive home the point that such behavior won't be tolerated. The WNBA must protect Clark with stricter penalties for flagrant fouls against her, acknowledging her economic importance to the league. Referees who fail to protect her should be replaced.